Hi everybody. We're ready to do a lab on balanced and unbalanced forces. Now this is a lab we're going to do together. So if you've copied off your lab sheet and you have that ready and you have something to write with, you have your tennis ball and your ruler, or I think I listed on here, if you have a firm piece of cardboard, you could use that too, or even a piece of a Hot Wheels track, that would work as well. So if you don't have the materials, then please go ahead and pause, go get your things, and then come back. All right, so since we're doing a lab, we have to have a question. We have to have something that we're investigating, something that we want to know more about. So since we're doing balanced and unbalanced forces, my question is going to be, how do balanced and unbalanced forces affect the motion of a ball? So now I have to have what I think will happen. Well, when I'm thinking about this, I'm drawing on all of the information that we've learned so far this week and some of the information that we learned from before spring break. So my hypothesis is going to be an if-then statement. So my if-then statement is, if a force is applied to the ball, then it will move and create an unbalanced force. So at the end, I'm going to go back and I'm going to see, did my hypothesis come true, or was I totally off base? Did I need to learn more before I could make a really good statement about what I thought would happen? All right, so I want you to follow along on your lab sheet. I'm going to go through the lab sheet with you, and we're going to do the things. I'm going to hold my lab sheet and read from it, and then I'm going to put it down, and we're going to do this lab together. So you can do this with me, and then you can pause the video to write down your answers. All right. So we already have our materials, so we're on number 1. So it says, place the ball on the floor. Well, if I place the ball on the floor, you won't be able to see it. So I'm going to leave it here on the table. Okay, so I've got the ball here on the table. You've got yours on the floor. And I'm noticing, and you're probably noticing the same thing, I'm noticing what forces are acting on the ball. So I have choices here. Is magnetism working on the ball? Well, I don't have any magnet down here, so magnetism would not be a force that would be working on the ball. Gravity. Well, gravity is working on the ball. Gravity is pulling it down. The floor. Well, in your case, yes, on the floor is doing what? It's pushing up. Gravity is pulling down, the floor is pushing up. So the floor would be acting on the ball. Now, for mine, it's the table. Friction. Well, for friction to act on the ball has to be in motion. The ball's not in motion, so friction is not acting on the ball. So now we know that gravity and the floor are the forces that are acting on the ball right now when it's at rest. So are the forces balanced or unbalanced? Well, what do I know about balanced and unbalanced forces? Balanced forces, it means that they equal each other out so that the object is not moving. What do I know about unbalanced forces? Well, one force is greater than the other, which causes motion. So let's take a look. The ball is not in motion, so it's a balanced force. So the floor and gravity are equaling each other out. All right, so it says now push the ball gently with one finger and have a partner, so you need somebody to work with you. So if you don't have someone, please pause the video. I'm going to be my own partner because even though my cat's in here, he would not be a very good partner. So I'm going to it says put one finger gently on the one side and your partner's finger on the other side, and both of you gently push on the ball. Well, what happened? Well, when I push this way and I'm pushing also in the opposite direction with the same amount of force, the ball didn't move. There was no motion happening with the ball. Now, I bumped the table a little bit, so the ball did jiggle a little, but because of my two fingers pushing at this with the same force, the ball doesn't move. So is that a balanced or unbalanced force? Well, the ball didn't move, so I was gently pushing it with equal force on either side of the ball. So that would be a balanced force. This time, I'm gently going to it says gently push the ball without having your partner push back. So what happens to the ball? So I'm going to gently push the ball. All right, so what happened to the ball? Well, the ball rolled. So because I applied a force to the ball, I set the ball in motion. So what force was acting on the ball now? Well, my hand. My hand was pushing the ball. What force eventually caused the ball to stop? Now, it didn't touch my whiteboard. And I'm sure at home when you push the ball, well, it may have hit something. So you have to determine whether it hit something, because that would be a little different. So let's talk about both scenarios. So when I pushed the ball, it did slow down, and I've got this kind of bumpy table, so it's a bumpy surface. So the friction from the bumpy surface caused my ball to slow down and eventually stop. So if you pushed the ball on a carpeted floor, then the carpet would apply friction to the ball and cause the ball to slowly start rolling slower and slow down and eventually stop. Now, if you have a wood surface, I bet your ball would roll a little bit longer because there'd be a little less friction, but eventually it would stop unless it hit something. If it hit something, that's another force altogether. That's the collision of it hitting another object caused it to slow down and probably almost stop, and then it eventually stopped. Try balancing the ball. So now we're going to use our ruler. It says balance the ball on the ruler. So there we go. So what force is acting on the ball now? Well, gravity is still acting on the ball, but also the push of the ruler to keep it on the ruler and to keep it, what would we call it? Balanced. So it's a balanced force. We've got gravity pulling it down and the ruler pushing it up. All right, so the question for number 8 is, try balancing the ball on the ruler. What forces are acting on the ball? Are the forces balanced? Well, the ball wasn't moving, so it was balanced force. How do we know? Because the gravity and the force from the ruler equaled each other out and made it balanced. Okay, so we're on to number 11. Now, they want me to put the ball back on the ruler, and this time they want me to tilt the ruler and to tell what happened to the ball. So I've got it balanced. So when I tilt the ruler, what happened to the ball? The ball rolled off of the ruler. So I conclude, well, it also, as it rolled off of the ruler, it was an unbalanced force. So for number 12, I conclude that balanced forces cause the ball to stay still, and unbalanced forces cause the ball to move. So now for number 13, I want you to think about this. And this is one that we're not going to do together. This is one I want you to think through and write out. So this is, think about a game of bowling. Explain an example of balanced and unbalanced forces that we could observe during a game of bowling. You may even draw a diagram to show as part of your explanation. So I want you to think about it, and I think everybody has probably either observed a game of bowling, played a game of bowling, or maybe even played Wii bowling, and you saw your little Wii figure and what they did to bowl. So I want you to think about, when did you see in the bowling game a balanced force? When did you see an unbalanced force? And that's what I want you to write down. So we're applying that to something in real life. Okay, so we're taking all of this information that we learned and applying that to real life. So now that we're finished with the explanation of the lab, I want to go back to the hypothesis. If a force is applied to the ball, so I'm thinking about, when did I apply a force? Well, when I gently moved it, or when I tilted the ruler. Okay, so when a force is applied to the ball, then it will move to create an unbalanced force. Well, that's exactly what happened. It moved until another force caused it to stop. We were talking about friction. We also talked about collision, if it hits something. So I want you to fill out your lab sheet. This is something that will need to be handed in. So if you need to watch this video again and fill in some things that maybe you didn't get to, or you could have paused the video during the investigation. I want you to fill that out, and that will be something that you will hand in on my webpage. So you'll look on my webpage to see when that is due. All right? So I hope you enjoyed this investigation, and remember to do the last one on your own about the bullying. All right? If you have any questions, you can always email me. I want you to keep watching and keep learning.